Welcome back to Grizzly Game Day, where it's halftime of the 2018 game at Idaho, the first battle for the Little Brown Steins since the Vandals returned to FCS play, and Montana's rolling at the half. It's 36-6, and this is Eric Tabor, UM Communications Director. Joining me now, the legend of the game, an Idaho native who got to beat the Vandals inside the Kibbe Dome on his senior season, former defensive end Reggie Tilleman. Reg, great to see you again, man. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
So first of all, give us a little life update. New dad, new job. Things are going well for Reggie.
Yeah, absolutely. So my wife, Brittany, and I just had our first little girl in this last April, middle of COVID. So that was kind of an interesting experience. But yeah, I'm working for an egg lender here in town, Northwest Farm Credit. As a credit officer, loan officer type deal, which has been awesome. Definitely a big learning curve. Brittany's the head coach over at Hellgate, the varsity volleyball. So she's been digging that. Definitely a busy time for us in the fall with her doing volleyball and doing that sort of thing. And then I've actually been reffing high school football too. In the middle of all of it. So that's kind of been, we're definitely running all over the place. We don't get many evenings where we're both at home with her traveling and doing that sort of thing. But, you know, we're both happy that we're able to do that sort of stuff in the middle of all of it and kind of do that sort of thing. So it was definitely something that was on edge for a little bit where we were like, there's no way they're going to have high school sports with the way everything else went. But I mean, we're still going, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we get to keep doing that and finish out the season here.
And I don't think a lot of people maybe not know that the former Brittany Gay UM volleyball player is now Brittany Tillman, the Hellgate coach. So keeping it in the UM family, right?
Yep, exactly. We got plenty of Grizzly onesies filling the dresser right now, so it's definitely a family affair, and I guess a storybook, if you will. But no, I'm just kidding.
I think so. What's the best high school game you've reffed this year?
Oh, there's a lot of them. I mean, it's kind of hard to keep track. So I mean, it's kind of an all-week deal. So you got the JV games on Monday. If we can get the Tuesday, Thursday J-High games, and then obviously Friday and Saturday. Being a former 8-man guy myself, I always appreciate the small town games. Had a couple down in Victor, had one up in JV St. Regis Hot Springs 6-man game. And I had never seen 6-man before, so that was kind of a new experience for me. But that was fun. Definitely lots of scoring. So it's hard to pick one, but I definitely like the small town games, I would say.
I mean, those are like the 60 to 75 games, right? Where
Exactly.
I don't know how you got enough room in the scoreboard for all that stuff.
Yeah, I think we have our little game cards that you write down the score at the end of each quarter. I think at the end of the first quarter is 13-6. At the end of the second, at halftime, it was like 45-32 or something crazy like that. So lots of scoring.
Lots of scoring. That's great. Well, some sad news actually in your family. Your great uncle, Mike Tillman, and not just your family, the entire Grizzly family and really the Montana football family, lost a good one. And Mike Tillman, a Grizzly Sports Hall of Famer, a former NFLer, and just a giant of a man with a giant heart, and your great uncle. So just tell us a little bit about what he meant to you, and you know, now that he's passed on, sort of how your relationship was over the years.
Yeah, Mike was definitely a role model to me, and I think especially to everybody that knew him at least. Just a giving heart. I mean, you look at what he's done for MSU Northern and their football program. Definitely an example there. A beautiful facility. What he's done for the University of Montana with how he helped out with, I mean, everything. So, and then you look back at his playing days, and I mean, just a stud. So it's pretty hard to pick one thing in his life that you want to single out, just because just about everything he did was awesome. He's a great role model, like I said, and yeah, definitely meant a lot to us. Meant a lot to Montana. Yeah, definitely lots of good stories with Uncle Mike. Yeah, he was definitely a big
Did he have a
influence.
role in maybe like influencing you or inspiring you to want to come to Montana because you're from Idaho originally, as we said?
Yeah, I think that was a part of it. Obviously, so my dad grew up in Havre. We have family in Missoula. That was definitely an influencing factor. But I think just knowing the legacy that Uncle Mike left and what he did for the university and kind of the story behind it definitely had uh, an influence. He wasn't, knocking on my door and saying, "Hey, come." You better be a Grizzly or else you know what. So although I'm sure he thought that, but he didn't really have to do much for me. I think just knowing that he was a Grizz and we had these ties to Missoula was enough to get me to come anyways. So
Very cool.
one story that I'll always remember is I was talking with Coach Hauk like after a workout, or I was watching film and he came in and checked in and he said, "Yeah, I got to drive over to Idaho and check on a kid because your Uncle Mike said he bought a combine, or his dad bought a combine from him. So we better start recruiting him," or something crazy like that.
That's how it's
Don't
done.
tell the NC2A folks that, but I don't
No,
think
no, no.
anything came of it. But it's just kind of a funny story that I definitely would put past Uncle Mike. So
That's great. Always working the angles. Well,
yeah,
if you're just joining us, this is Reggie Tilleman, the legend of the game from the 2018 game at the University of Idaho. So, let's talk about this game real fast. This was basically a homecoming from you. You're from just down the road in Genesee, Idaho, and you told me once you played high school games inside the Kibbe Dome. So, what do you remember about the lead up to this game? Just the motivation factor of going back to your home state, going back to Idaho, and it was the first time we played them since they dropped back down to FCS football.
yeah. So I guess I had always had hoped. We had always heard Idaho's going to come back to the Big Sky. They're going to come back to the FCS, yada yada yada, and they'd say, "Oh no, we'd never do that." And and then when talks started getting serious, I was like, "Oh, like I might be able to play the Vandals, right?" And there was no bad blood or anything between me and the Vandals, but like, I wanted to get out of state and get away from Genesee a little bit and kind of experience something new. So I never really was interested in going to Moscow, and I never really went to camps or anything, which is a big thing. So um, nothing there. But then like once I saw, oh, we're gonna get a home game, or not a home game, but a game in Moscow in the Kibbe Dome, I was pretty fired up for that. And anybody that's involved with the program knows that you get 2 tickets for away games and 4 tickets for home games that you can bring family or whatever. And as soon as I saw that, it was definitely you start working on all the young guys and working on all the folks that it was kind of a competition between me and Jerry, see if he could get more tickets because he's right up the road there too. So it was definitely an exciting game, one that I had probably circled on the calendar just because getting play in front of like the whole town of Genesee was pretty awesome, pretty special. So
It was a great Grizz cheering section there, and yeah, I remember seeing the Tillman and the Louis McGee sections were loud and proud that day for sure.
yeah, it was fun. So in our Friday meeting before the game, Coach Hauk is like, it's a homecoming for Bus and it's a homecoming for Jerry, and Reggie's from down in southern Idaho somewhere. And I didn't say anything about it in the meeting, but I went up to him after. I was like, "You know where Genesee's at, right?" Like we passed it on the way down because we stayed in Lewiston and
All
came
right.
down through Moscow, and I was like, we drove right by it. So it was pretty funny, but
It's a blink and you'll miss it town though, right?
yeah, I mean, it's like there's no buildings on the highway there. It's kind of you got to take a turn, and there's a lamppost and a sign that says Genesee this way, and that's about it. So
Well, you had a good day, and it was a great day for the defense. Obviously, a big lead at the half, as we were talking about. But it was a scrappy Idaho team. You got, let's see, 2.5 TFLs, a sack, 5 tackles. What do you remember about the game plan going in there? Because I think it's Idaho hasn't had the results that I think they're capable of having the last couple of years. And, this was their first year back in the league. And it was a kind of a toss up of what we were going to get, what we were going to see from them in a dangerous team.
Yeah, I think we definitely came in with some new um, and different, especially stunts on the D line. I mean, we were always stunting. That's kind of what the defense does. I mean, we're always moving on the front. So we kind of came up with some new ones where we were crossing and going different directions than what we usually did. I think that they definitely weren't prepared for that, especially in their running game. They kind of had guys running all over the place, and so did we. And it just worked out great. So I guess from a game plan perspective, I know we definitely threw in some new stuff, and maybe hoping that it'd give the Cats something new to prepare with or prepare for the following week. But I think more than anything, I think the seriousness that we took, that game with and not looking forward was huge. Everybody knew that it was a rivalry game from way back when, and I think we heard all the preseason talk like, oh, the Vandals are going to be good. They're just going to come in and roll these Big Sky teams. I think, we, the Grizz, and probably the rest of the league took that to heart and uses kind of some bulletin board material. And it obviously paid off for us. I still remember the hit that Jesse put on David Unger was their receiver, where the helmet popped off, and I actually played basketball with David. He's from Pullman, like AAU ball way back in the day. So I don't know if he remembered me or not, but I tried giving him a little crap about that. But it was definitely a fun day.
Always one of the best trash talkers on the team, Reggie Tilleman, that's for sure. So I was just watching the highlights of the game a little bit ago, and the end of the game, the Little Brown Stein, they gave it right to you, and we were singing the fight song. How'd that feel to kind of get that history in your hands, to sing the fight song? Big win on the Vandals soil, obviously, but what was that moment like?
No, it was awesome. I think I had seen the Little Brown Stein before because it's always been in the trophy case, and so, but then like to hold it and see it, like everybody looks at it, it's like, oh, it's a brown, like I don't even know what a Stein is, right? And so, but like just to see the history of it, it's obviously been around for a long time. That was pretty cool. Singing the fight song is always the highlight of the day at the end of the day, especially in front of a big crowd. That and to be at an away game, that's awesome. And Grizz fans always travel well. So, but yeah, to hold the Brown Stein, look up and see my math teacher and whatever in the stands, like that was a pretty cool moment.
Very cool. Well, one other little bit of history from that game. That was the game where Coach Houck picked up his 86th victory as a Montana Grizzly head coach, surpassing the great Don Reed to become Montana's winningest coach of all time. So I know the locker room celebration after the game was just an epic one. What do you remember from that?
Yeah, it was awesome. So nobody, I didn't know, and I don't think anybody else knew that it was that was the win that took him into the lead. But I think Robbie knew, obviously. And so they grab the Gatorade jug and go out on the field and dump him with it. I'm like, what is this? Like the national championship? I had no idea. And then it all made sense because we do the spirit stick after the game. And so somebody stood up and said something about it. And then it all made sense. But yeah, it was definitely a hooting time for sure. The way the locker rooms are set up, they put us in the girls track and soccer and baseball, or not baseball, but there's like 5 or 6 different pods, and that's kind of the way it is with all visitor locker rooms. But so you can have your D-line and linebackers. Everybody's got the music blasting. It's always a good time celebrating the W.
Awesome. Well, Reg, it's been great having you on the show today, and really appreciate you taking the time. This has been the Legend of the Game with Reggie Tilleman, brought to you by the M Store. Grizz fans, if you bleed maroon and silver, you found your happy place at the M Store. For all your Grizz apparel, gifts, and more, drop by the M Store at 124 North Higgins in Missoula, or visit our online store at montanamstore.com. The M Store is all Grizz all the time. Reg, great to see you again. Thanks so much for joining us, and go Grizz.
Fight on. Thanks, Tabor.